Hey guys, it's Quana back again for another Her Real Review. This time I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about Coming to America, the sequel to the 1988 classic film starring Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. This film returns back to Zamunda, where we get to see Prince Akeem, soon to become King Akeem, and he struggles to ascend to the throne knowing that he does not have a male heir, which by Zamunda law could mean that his country could end up going into the hands of someone else. Luckily for him, his father hunts down his illegitimate son back in Queens, so he has to return back to America to go and get his son, and then he has to take his son back to Zamunda to train him to ascend the throne later in life. So before we go further into this movie, do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button so you can come back loads more times for more content. So I went into this movie with relatively medium expectations. Sequels are notorious for not being as good as the original. There's a very simple reason for that. The first time we watch a film, the first time those individuals, cast members get together, the writers, the directors, all of those things, we're getting fresh perspective that we haven't encountered in that way, shape, or form before. Whenever you get a sequel, it's either going to rest very heavily on your knowledge of that, and it falls into the trappings oftentimes of recycling some of the same material, especially in the realm of comedy. And so you always should kind of go in with, I think, just medium expectations of either it's going to provide you with the nostalgia from the original, or if they're able to actually be really innovative, it could surprise you. I went into this with relatively medium expectations. Now let's first start by saying one of the writers of this film was Kenya Barris. Kenya Barris is known for his show Blackish, which I do watch Blackish and I like some episodes of Blackish. He's also known for his show Grownish. I do like some episodes of Grownish. And also he had a show on Netflix, and for the life of me, I'm not going to remember the name of it right now, but it was not very well received by the Black community. In fact, I think I did a review of it and I did not enjoy it. So Kenya Barris tends to be kind of an okay comedic writer for me. And I think because the original writing staff, including Eddie Murphy for the original film, when Coming to America first came out, and I think I was 6 at the time, it was so different. It was so fresh. The jokes were jokes that we had not heard before. We had not seen Black culture on the screen in that way, shape, or form before. And then the intertwining of American Black culture versus American ideals of what Black African royalty would look like kind of gave us something that we had never seen before. Now, in 2021, we've had this in other films, namely Black Panther. And so we have seen what we believe Black royalty to look like. And this film has to toe kind of a scary tightrope of representing the Black community, representing the Black elitism, the Black idealism of what elegance and sophistication should be, especially on that level, while at the same time bringing jokes and laughter. And so I heard a lot of people being very upset about the fact that there was no hard R rating. Why do we say hard R anyway? Like, it's just an R. It's not, I guess, capital R rating. But I do think that for what Coming to America was in the culture, I don't recall not being able to watch this as a kid. In fact, you usually as a kid, you sat down and you watched whatever everyone else was watching. And so it was nothing like overtly sexual. There might have been some language here and there, but it wasn't a movie that you could not watch as a young person without being worried that you were going to get exposed to some gratuitous sex scenes or gratuitous violence or things like that. So the original wasn't a hard R in the way that we think of this in 2021. So I don't know why people would assume that this film, in order to be good, should be that. It's not meant for only adult audiences. It's meant to be something that the whole family, at least up to a certain age, could watch. So that's my soapbox on that one. This movie was enjoyable. If you go into it with your expectations of, I'm getting from this nostalgia, I'm getting to see these people, especially from my generation and older, who were so important and integral to the Black community at a certain point in time, and you're getting to see them all gather together on screen again, and then some faces who we haven't seen for a while, who weren't in the original but are being brought into this world. If you go into it just to see them play in this world, then I think the film is quite enjoyable. Let's talk about some of the stars of this film. Okay, so you've got Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, you've got Shari Headley reprising her role as Lisa, you've got James Earl Jones reprising his role as King Jaffe Joffer, you've got Wesley Snipes coming in new and hot, playing General Izzy, you've got Tracy Morgan, you've got Leslie Jones, you've got Kiki Layne, who I absolutely adore. She was stunning in this movie. She was gorgeous. I really wish that she had been in the scenes a whole lot more than what she was. You have Jermaine Fowler, who I'm not as familiar with. You have just so many comedic geniuses who show up. You've got John Amos, who reprises his role as Mr. McDowell. You have Louis Anderson, who reprises his role. You've got Vanessa Bell Calloway, who reprises her role. So this movie did a lot of things that I think fans of the original should respect and appreciate, that they brought all of these individuals back. Now, there were some individuals that did not make it back. Eric LaSalle did not reprise his role, and some of them just, it makes sense that they wouldn't reprise their roles because their roles would have been just kind of one-offs. So I do feel like this film did a lot in terms of building on the nostalgia of the original. Now let's talk about the story. So the story is that James Earl Jones' character, King Jaffe, is about to die. Shouts out, and let's give James Earl Jones all of his flowers. I believe he is 96 years old or close to it. We know that we just lost Queen Cicely Tyson herself. And so we definitely want to make sure we give James Earl Jones all of his things. And I think there was something there's a scene where literally the country of Zamunda is giving him honors and respect in the movie because his character is going to die soon. And it made me realize those are the types of things we should be doing for our elders now, because they won't be with us forever. When he leaves, Eddie Murphy's character, Prince Akeem, is going to become King Akeem. But King Jaffe really wants to make sure that he needs to have a male heir to ascend the throne after him. And so they've hunted down his illegitimate son that he has with Leslie Jones's character back in his journey to Queens, that he did not know about. Now, there's a couple of issues with that scene that we'll talk about a little bit later, but he goes back to America with Simi. He gets the chance to revisit the barbershop, and he tracks down his son and brings him back to Zamunda, he and his mother, so that he can train him on how to be a prince. Now, while this is going on, there's a little bit of conflict with a neighboring country called Nextdoria, led by General Izzy, played by Wesley Snipes. He is playing a role that was created for this film, but it's based on Vanessa Bell Calloway's role in the original. Remember, she plays the woman who Akeem was supposed to marry, and that's his sister. And so she's still stuck in that barking stage that he left her in when he never kind of said, okay, stop barking. And so he wants to have diplomacy by forcing one of his children to marry one of Akeem's children. He tries to negotiate for Akeem's daughter to marry his son. That's not going to happen. His daughter is way too headstrong, way too opinionated. And so she's like, no, that's okay. I've got a son now that I can sell you. And so he arranges a marriage between Akeem's son, Lavelle, played by Jermaine Fowler, and General Izzy's daughter, played by, Lord Jesus, what is that girl's name? Tiana Taylor. I'm so sorry. Complete brain freeze there. And so it very much navigates the first movie's journey, where Akeem is trying to make his own way in the world and trying to break away from the tradition of Zamunda and his father. And so we're going to see Lavelle kind of navigate that same role. At the same time, we have Kiki Layne playing Prince Akeem's oldest daughter, and she very much has trained her whole life to lead Zamunda. She loves her country, and she is the best person to do it. And so we see her kind of assert herself. She is absolutely gorgeous. I adore Kiki Layne. I mean, you've got Old Guard, If Bill Street Could Talk. She is someone who I would love to see her cast as Storm. If they bring Storm into either the Black Panther universe through MCU or when they reboot X-Men, I would love to see Kiki Layne play Storm. Now, she's not quite as dark as some depictions of Storm that I've seen, but I think that she definitely would satisfy a lot of requirements. Plus, we've seen Old Guard. She can fight, and we see her in this movie, and she definitely would fit. She also would be great for an original character for Black Panther. So if they don't consider casting her for Storm, I would love to see her make her way into that universe. Guys, the storyline is not a bad storyline. Are there points of it that have been overdone? Yes. But there are mainstays of Black culture and Black film that show up in this movie that I appreciate those nods to. For example, when there's a wedding sequence or a wedding scene, you're usually going to have a Black dance scene. Shout out to Best Man, who that kind of like established that trend. And so we get some of those things here. You can see them stretching to maintain the dignity of these African royal characters while at the same time bringing fresh jokes in. And so this is where you get people like Tracy Morgan in here, who I don't always find funny, but he plays a good uncle character. Leslie Jones actually looks stunning in this movie, guys. Hats off to her. And this is one of the few roles that I actually genuinely found her funny in. And I would love to see some of the stuff that might have landed on the cutting room floor for time, because I think that it would be interesting to see her in roles like this where she's surrounded by Black actors, because I think then her loudness that she usually has that can kind of be off-putting to some people, it's toned down a bit and it doesn't feel as out of place. It feels like it belongs there. And so I really appreciated her in this role. Guys, I don't have anything overtly bad to say about this movie. It didn't make me laugh out loud. Of course, I was watching this at 12:30 at night in bed, trying to be as quiet as possible, not to wake my kids up. So there might be some out loud laughs for you, but I did not hate this movie at all. And I definitely think this movie is worthy of a B rating, which is what I'm going to give it, because I do think that for the nostalgia's sake alone, it's worth a watch. Is it between Coming to America and Coming to America? Which one am I going to watch more? Coming to America. It's a classic and it is better. The writing is stronger in the original, but I could see this making some people's playlist of watching. We're just going to have a Coming to America, or we're going to have a Americanized African culture night with Coming to America, and Black Panther. I don't know. Take your pick. You see, I got dressed for the occasion. But yeah, I definitely think this movie is worthy of a rewatch. The only thing I would have left out is they did not do a good enough job of explaining how Akeem got Leslie Jones' character pregnant. And I definitely think there was some wiggle room for us finding out that Lavelle, his Akeem's son, is really not his offspring. But aside from that and the kind of icky-ish nature of explaining that doesn't sit well in 2021, I think overall the film was pretty good. I definitely would give this movie a B. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you feel like they should have just left it alone? I actually appreciate that they came back to this, guys. I think with this cast of characters, I don't think we could see these characters again. A lot of these people have not worked in mainstream film in a while. So this movie helped get a lot of people back in front of the camera. And I think that that's a good thing. So I'm not going to knock this movie, but let me know down below in the comments what you thought. And until next time, guys, toodles.